Okay, let's look at the critical game 2 Blitz game to decide the winner of Tata Steel 2018. Anish Giri playing white now. So e4, Magnus Carlsen played e5, knight f3, knight c6. We have bishop c4. Then we have bishop c5, so this is now Joko piano territory. After bishop c5, c3, knight f6, d3, d6. White castles, a6, rook e1, bishop a7, bishop b3. This has all been seen before, quite heavy theory. h6, knight bd2, rook e8, knight f1. Pretty standard stuff. Bishop c2, d5, queen e2. So we reach this position, and an alternative here, which has been seen before, is e takes d5, but this is thought to be about even, like g3 about equal. So queen e2, and perhaps slightly interesting and surprising is d takes e4. This is a bit of a rare move played here according to a chess-based live book. Usually in this position, black maintains the central pawn tension. Move queen d7, for example. And this position where black just plays b5, this is thought to be about equal. But Magnus releases that tension in the center. And one aspect about this is that pawn on e4 can be used to support an outpost on f5 potentially, especially f5, with a knight coming to f5 later. And this is exactly how Anish Giri played it. He tried to get a secure outpost on f5, so knight g3, rook a d8, knight h4, and now in preparation against knight f5, the queen dropped back, which means potentially that g6 could be on the cards later. At the moment, it's ruled out with the bishop and knight on h6. There's no g6 to repulse this knight, but knight e7, knight e3, knight g6. This knight is switching into f4 now. White is rearranging the knights, but knight f4 after queen f3, c6. So this gives not only support for the d5 square, but maybe this bishop's useful on this diagonal. This could be potentially a pawn sack on f4 later, and that bishop could be used on that diagonal as well. That's something to consider. It might have been possible to play g6 here as well, and apparently black's doing okay in this sort of position. Okay, so we have c6, knight g4, knight takes, and the very aggressive h takes g. Now here there's a very dynamic idea in mind after g6. Can you guess what white plays? Okay, Anish Giri just takes on f4, and he just leaves that knight to be taken. If he had retreated this knight, instead of bishop takes f4, I think this position is quite dangerous for white. You see that g pawn is a bit of a target, and if white like takes there, black can very carefully play to win g4 with king g7 first. That pawn's pinned, and after taking on g4 here, this is actually quite pleasant for black. Just because of the possibility of bishop b3, it might be useful king g7 for rook f8 sometimes. But okay, so this was avoided. Yeah, we get this full piece sack instead. So a very interesting conception for Blitz chess, just leaving that knight there on f5. It is taken, but the interesting thing here, Magnus doesn't try and he plays an unexpected move. So he doesn't try and hold on to the piece. I've said it. He doesn't try and hold on to the piece. So guess what he plays instead? Okay, he actually played queen g7, just offering the piece back. Now, it's an invitation also, of course, to an opposite coloured bishop position, which is potentially drawish sometimes, as long as king safety is a major issue. And Magnus just needs a draw to win this tiebreak, so it's a kind of practical decision. If he played a bit materialistically, the classic downside is white gets more dynamic play. So say black tried to keep the piece, f6, with the idea of queen f5 and e5 might actually be pretty dangerous. If we play a silly token move as an example just to show, this would be end of game. Now say black does play very sensibly instead with king h8, it's still a little bit dangerous. So say bishop d3 here, and now g3. You can see things might be tricky with king g2 maybe at some point in rook h1. So yeah, Magnus trying to take the dynamic play out of the position by just giving back the piece. So queen g7, and in fact black has interesting dark square pressure here. Even though the engines might technically like white, because white is technically a pawn up, it's actually more difficult for white to play this because these rooks are already waiting to swing in, this one in particular. Rook e2, queen g5, just offering exchange of queens. Opposite coloured bishops, it's going to be very difficult in practice to, or even in theory, to win this. Queen f3. We have rook f6, yeah. The black pieces are coordinating very well here. Queen h3, queen f4. So there's a threat of bishop takes f2, that's protected. Yeah, white's on the defensive. Rook e5, queen h2, very much on the defensive. g3, which is a bit of a creaking, weakening move. Queen g4, rook d2. Rook g5, threatening things like queen takes g3 check now because of this pinned pawn. And white makes a mistake here. e5 was played. I think it's important to perhaps just give up this pawn with bishop d1, just give up the pawn, but instead e5, and Magnus actually, he just needs a draw. He just took on e5 knowing, you know, it's going to be at least a draw here because it seems to be white's king that's less safe than black's. But in fact there was actually a very good winning move in this position. But remember, it's a Blitz game, so it doesn't really matter. It's a bit academic in terms of trying to win the Tata Steel on this tiebreak game. But can you see what black can do here if I give you 5 seconds? Black to play. Okay, rook f3 threatens rook takes g3, even in a very crushing way. Now let's say king g2, clinging on to g3 it seems, but here there would be rook h5. After queen g1, there's two ways for black to win this. One's actually pretty direct and brutal. Can you see both ways? In fact, as a little tactical test, if I give you 5 seconds, what are the two winning moves available for black? Okay, you might want to pause the video. Not queen h3 check because king takes f3, but in fact the nifty rook f4 is threatening now queen h3 checkmate, and white would have to give up the queen. So say white, gives up the queen, it's going to be clearly hopeless. The other way is just actually rook h3 to threaten rook takes g3, and this is also crushing. Just like this, it's going to be crushing. But yeah, Magnus actually took on e5, perhaps without thinking too much about this. Then this is going to be, if anyone's better, he's better here, and all he needs is a draw. Bishop d1, queen g5, rook d3, and the black pieces are wonderfully coordinated here actually. After queen h4, a draw was agreed, but so it was drawn here, and Magnus with this draw won this edition, and for a record sixth time, which is the world record actually. So very, very good. Congratulations to Magnus Carlsen for this draw and securing winning this Tata Steel 2018. Hope you enjoyed that. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.